Hello everyone. So welcome to the sixth session in our Indian history course. And today we'll look at the story of the Marathas. Today we'll look at the Maratha story. So till now, what we have done? Till now we have done. Till, till now we have finished your. For example, in the very first session we talked about the Portuguese. Then we talked about the story of later Mughals. Then in the third session, we talked about the story of the how the Britishers were able to act against the other Europeans, how they take the other Europeans out of India. In the next session, we talk about the Bengal story. And then the last session, in the fifth session, we talked about the Mysore story. That how British, after consolidating their position in Bengal, how got Mysore, and also parallelly, we'll read how they get the Marathas. So finally, the end of the Maratha came in 1818. 1818. So Maratha history is a bit long. That's why today's session will be a bit relatively long as compared to the last session. So let's start. So let us start with a few questions. Let's warm up first. So first question is: Tipu Sultan died fighting the British forces under the Lord Cornwallis, Wellesley, Dalhousie, and Hastings. Remembering the governor generals and their time periods, we will see when we'll enter into the theme 2 shortly. In the theme 2, we will see that these governor generals are very, very important. Very, very important. Their time period, what they have done in their time period. For example, I'll give you a glimpse of it, how we should study, and we will study according to it. If you look at the Tamil Nadu board book, that's where they have focused governor general wise, and that's a very good book in that way, because they have traced the history through the idea of the governor generals. So I'll recommend you to read that book. Actually, I'll try to keep all the notes of that book into this particular in our sessions, but you can go for that book, and I have discussed in the introduction class as well. Now, fourth Tipu Sultan died after the fourth Anglo-Mysore War, and that happened in 1799. In 1799, India was under the governor generalship of the Lord Wellesley, Richard Wellesley. Okay? Now that's the answer. So Lord Wellesley is the right answer. Let's see the next question. South Indian ruler who introduced sericulture as an agro industry in his kingdom. It's a question from CDS, so you can expect one question on the UPSC. But that question will not be this easy question. But that question will be three-part question out of one. One option can be the Tipu Sultan introduced sericulture in the Mysore. In that regard, that sort of question can be asked. So it was the Tipu Sultan who introduced the sericulture into the Mysore, and after his reign, sericulture flowed. After he died, it declined, and then again it was revived. But he was the one who introduced sericulture to the farmers. So this is the Tipu Sultan. Next question is who among the following governor general formed a triple alliance against the Tipu Sultan? Who formed a triple alliance against the Tipu Sultan? So Warren Hastings, Wellesley, Cornwallis, and William Bentinck. You can pause the video and try the answer. So the answer is, it was Lord Cornwallis. So you remember, it was the Cornwallis who formed the anti-Tipu alliance, right? With the help of Maratha and the Nizams. So he formed the triple alliance, and then finally it was the third Anglo-Mysore War, where there was a decisive loss for the Tipu Sultan, and he lost, and they have to sign the treaty of the Srirangapatnam. Okay, chalo. So these are the questions, previous year questions. One more beyond previous year, learn through questions. One question from your session 4, that is the Battle of Plassey. Consider the following statement about the significance of Battle of Plassey. The battle established the military supremacy of the English in Bengal. The English obtained a great grant of territories for maintenance of the properly equipped military force. It exposed the subcontinental internal conflict, destroying the native dynasty then in power and also the economies of the imperial Bengal. Try this question. You can pause the session and you can try this particular question. You have done this, we have done this. Chalo. So the answer is very easy. All the three options are right, isn't it? So in that regard, they got the first law, they established the military superiority, yes. That also it exposed the internal conflict. For example, the treachery of the Mir Jafar that was there, treachery of the other officials that was there, and it obviously destroyed the imperial Bengal, because after which Battle of Buxar happened, and after which what happened? So before it's a plunder of EIC we have read, and after Buxar, the dual government which was established in Bengal, which led to the so many problems for the Bengal. So battle established the military supremacy of the English in the Bengal. Main arch rival French were ousted. They obtained a grant of the territory for maintenance of the properly equipped military force, and their prestige increased manifold. For example, 24 Pargana and all these things we have read that they got after your Battle of Palasi. But finally, they got the Diwani rights from the Shah Alam II after the Battle of Buxar. Chalo. Last question is, consider the following statement about the Hyder Ali. So one fact about Hyder Ali was missed out. So Hyder Ali पे question है. Hyder Ali took the help of the French to set up the arm factory as Dingigul. He brought to submission the troublesome polygars of the South India. Which of the statements is right? So we have not read this. So it was the Hyder Ali who established your finally Hyder Ali, we have read that in 1761 Hyder Ali came to power, isn't it? So Hyder Ali assumed power in 1671 finally, after he rose up the rank. 1730 he was born, and he rose 1730 he rose up the rank in the Vodaya dynasty and finally became the de facto ruler in 1761. And then he set up a arms factory that is Dingigul. Now it's in Tamil Nadu. You can look at the location of the Dingigul as well. Look Wikipedia. So he realized that the exceeding mobile Marathas could be contained only by swift cavalry. So Marathas, we will read today, they are very rugged people, lived in the mountain areas. So, and they are very fast. You can relate with the Shivaji and how he's able to tackle the people. How, if you have seen any old movie or the new movie such as Tanaji, how the Marathas was very swift, getting the horses and all. So that's why he thought that we also need to have this swift cavalry and some cannons, some good weapons we need to have, right? And that is why he set up a arms factory at the Dingigul. And he took the help of the French to set up these factories. And that's where the French connection started. The small French connection started. Okay? So both the options are right. That is, Hyder Ali took the help of the French to set up an arms factory at Dingigul, and he brought to submission the troublesome polygar. ये तो हमने पढ़ा ही है. Obviously, the rise of the Hyder Ali and both Tipu Sultan were challenged by these polygars. And we have discussed that. So they have to subside these polygar. They have to bring them into submission if they want to expand their territory, if they want to expand their influence. So let's come back to the topic. Let's start today's session. So it was the weak and the later Mughals after 1707. We see the political fragmentation. And then we see our independent kingdom, that is the Maratha, opening up. But the story of the Maratha lies before this week, when the Mughals became weak. The story of the Maratha starts way earlier. Marathas were found in the works of Ibn Battuta, for example. So Marathas were earlier the feudal lords because they were born in such rugged territory. If you look at the India map, this is the Western Ghats. So they born in these mountainous range, and when you are raised up in this mountainous range, you become some sort of because you are born in that place, you are adapted to that place. You become they are trained from the childhood to become a soldier. They are trained to become a warrior, right from the a feeling of pride and valor is given to them. So earlier they were the feudal lords that they will serve under the, for example, Bahamani kingdom or Deccani Sultanate. But later on, as you see, after the Mughals came, so the hold of these places become weak. So the Marathas also started getting their political ambition up. Then you have many Marathas, we'll see, for example, father of the Shivaji, who got the Jagirdari of the Bijapur. Then you have the people, enterprising people such as Shivaji coming into being. So he took up many forts in his very childhood. When he was a child, he took up many forts. He captured many forts. Then the story we will see. And finally, the Maratha Empire, that is called, started with 1764. And from 1764, it ended in 1818. So this is the journey we will trace from the coronation of the Shivaji and to the end of the Third Anglo-Maratha War. This is the journey that we have to trace today. And this is your whole Maratha Empire, that is a formal Maratha Empire. But as I have discussed, the Marathas were earlier as well. Obviously, they were the feudal lords. A lot of Maratha Sardars were there: Bhosle, More, Jadhav, Shikre. You can see these surnames also in Maharashtra now, right? These are the surnames. Still, you can witness these surname in a lot of Marathi people. And Maratha pride, for example, a lot of Maratha protests have happened. So they belong to, for example, Maratha protests were a symbol in the society. You will read Maratha protests were a symbol of how a higher caste also is demanding a reservation, because Marathas have always been in a higher caste. These Maratha Sardar, for example. So just to summarize, they were also mentioned beforehand in the writings of the Ibn Battuta. They were the feudal lords. They served Bahmani kingdom, Deccanic kingdom, such as their warriors, such as their military commanders, such as their jagirdars, depending upon. Then obviously they got the hint that no, we should become independent and we should establish our own Swaraj. Okay? Now, to start with the father of the Shivaji, that is Shaji Bhosle. So he was a military leader who served the Ahmednagar Bijapur. Earlier, he served under the Mughals, under the reigns of Jahangir and the Shah Jahan. But finally, he did not get proper respect from the Mughal, and he later defected that I will not serve the Mughals. He became the Jagirdar of the Bijapur, in chief general of the Bijapur. He got the Jagirdari of the Pune. Then he went to Bangalore and many places. He married Jijabai, who was the mother of the Shivaji. Shivaji traced a lot of influence on his life from his mother, that is Jijabai. Shivaji was born in 1630 at the Shivneri fort in Pune. So this is the Shaji Bhosle. देखो, important in the Maratha kingdom is more importantly the phase of the, let's say, Peshwa phase and the Shivaji phase, then Peshwa phase, and we'll see, and the Anglo-Maratha phase for our modern history purposes. These things we just need to know because they provide a context to the more important areas that we're going to read. Now, if you see the Mughal Empire at that time, Mughal Empire at the 1605 is like this. Then under the leadership of the Aurangzeb, it expanded. For example, 1707, at the death of the Aurangzeb, you can see the area like this. So you can see a lot of area of the Maratha was getting into the Aurangzeb territory. You know? And it was the same time the rise of the Shivaji as well. 1674, he got coronated, let's say. So you are bound to see some sort of a conflict, some sort of a cooperation, some sort of a interaction between the Mughals and the Marathas. It was inevitable because Aurangzeb wanted to control his increase his territory, and the Marathas also wanted to expand and also establish their own Swaraj. And this is what you can witness from the map itself. Now, when the Maratha Mughals were strong, for example, Aurangzeb, let's say, so he took a lot of initiatives to dismantle the Marathas. We will see. A lot of people were sent to finish the Marathas, to get a treaty with Shivaji, to capture him, to disrespect him. This was done by the Aurangzeb. But later on, what happened? When your later Mughals have come, when the death of the Aurangzeb, they become assertive. Yes, Shivaji was no more, but it was the Peshwas who become very assertive, and they expanded the Maratha kingdom from this to this. We will see this. And it was the time of the weaker Mughals when the Mughal authority was gaining the supremacy. Mughal authority was getting down. Now, let's talk about Shivaji. So Shivaji got inheritance, the Jagirdari of Pune, Jagir of Pune. In 1647, after he was 17 years of age, the death of the guardian Dadaji Khandau died. He was his guardian, and he assumed full charge. He was very enterprising, as you know. Also, you must have read in your books or you must have seen the movies. He captured a lot of forts: Raigad, Kondhana, Khandesh, a lot of forts he captured. More than 35 fort he captured. Then obviously there is bound to be conflict with the local kingdom. This is Marathaji, Shivaji expanding his empire, and the conflict was inevitable with the Adil Shahi of the Bijapur. Adil Shahi was after the Bahmani kingdom that collapsed, and Bahmani kingdom was divided into different small kingdoms that you must have read in your medieval history. So Adil Shahi of the Bijapur came in conflict with the Shivaji. So Adil Shahi ne bheja, Adil Shahi sent this Afzal Khan, go and kill Shivaji. And Shivaji has done some treachery, and Shivaji has done some magic, and Shivaji killed Afzal Khan, sorry. We'll see. So this was the area of the Shivaji. For example, you can see Rajgarh, right? You can see Bombay, you can see, this is the basically area of the Shivaji ka territory. Satara, for example, we will see. Then Khandesh, you can see he expanded his, for example, capturing of these forts he has done. And all this area, if you see, all this area lies in the your Western Ghats. So very rugged and mountainous terrain that is there. You know? And the forts are also located at a very hills pe. If you have seen the latest movie, this is Tanaji, so you can relate a lot. Okay, I'll also give you the reference of the time period of Tanaji. Now, this was the killing of the Afzal Khan sent by the Adil Shahi. And when the Afzal Shah was killed, Shivaji's popularity became more high, and Shivaji got more confidence. You know, when you defeat the chief or defeat the military leader of a regional kingdom, that you obviously you'll get more confidence. So Shivaji ne what theoretically he just had a tiger claw and he just inserted into the chest and the abdomen of the Afzal Khan, and he died. Then Aurangzeb was watching this. Aurangzeb was watching this happening from Delhi. He was sitting in Delhi. His ambition was to expand in the Deccan, and that was known as the Deccan ulcer also for Aurangzeb. We have discussed that because Aurangzeb was obsessed with the Deccan, that I want to have this Deccan under my control anyhow. And he kept on fighting with Maratha. He kept on fighting with Maratha. Shivaji died, but he kept on fighting, and ultimately he died. Aurangzeb. So Deccan mein he was watching this happening, Maratha, Shivaji gaining power. So Aurangzeb sent his person, that is the Shaista Khan. He was the maternal uncle of the Aurangzeb. Now Shaista Khan was sent by the Aurangzeb कि भाई इसको capture करो Shivaji को and bring him to me. But Shaista Khan military camp was attacked by Shivaji in 1663, and he killed Shaista Khan's son and injured Shaista Khan. So Shaista Khan was injured, and that was a big blow to the Aurangzeb. Now Aurangzeb was very furious. Ki bhai, he has killed Afzal Khan, not an issue, not my thing. But he killed this, my maternal uncle's son. You know? So he was like he killed my maternal brother. Now the Aurangzeb has sent a Hindu king, that is the Jai Singh, Rajput Jai Singh I. He sent the Rajput Jai Singh I to the Maratha kingdom. Okay, go and capture. And he has a very huge army with him. So the Shivaji has no option but to, and he done the siege of the fort. So Shivaji has no option but to sign the Treaty of Purandar with him. He has to sign the Treaty of Purandar with him. But Jai Singh was he was not very humiliating to Shivaji. He saw how bravely he fought. He respected him. So he did not have any prisoners of war, especially the one who fought bravely. And Shivaji promised him, okay, I will help you in your campaign against the Bijapur. So now the Mughals and the Shivaji will fight together against the ruler of the Bijapur, and they'll defeat the ruler of the Bijapur. That was the part of the Treaty of Purandar. So the Treaty of Purandar was signed in 1665. Shivaji, Rajput Jai Singh, Aurangzeb has sent him Treaty of Purandar. Shivaji has hand over 35 of the forts that he kept to the Mughals. So he has to surrender these much forts to the Mughals, so that to make Mughals happy. In 1666, Aurangzeb has invited the Shivaji कि भाई Shivaji आओ हमसे मिलने आओ, come to Shivaji. Now Shivaji was very skeptic whether I should go, whether I should not go, what should I do. So there was a bit of skepticism on the part of the Shivaji. What should I do? But he was given some assurance by some Hindu rulers that okay, go ahead and nothing will happen. When the Shivaji went to Aurangzeb, what happened? Aurangzeb put him behind the Mansabdars. A lot of Mansabdars were invited. Let's say you are an important figure. You consider yourself as an important figure. You go to a particular party, and in that particular party you are insulted. So Shivaji was insulted. Shivaji tried to go out of it. Shivaji was furious. Then Aurangzeb put him under the house arrest. He was under the house arrest by the Aurangzeb, Shivaji, and around 1,000 plus guards were there to guard the Shivaji. So Shivaji remained inside the guard for about uh, around 9 months or 1 year. Then finally he made some planning कि भाई कैसे out जाना है, how I need to get out. अच्छा, the plan of the Aurangzeb was to send Shivaji to the Afghanistan, this area. That I'll send Shivaji to this area to capture this front and to protect this front. Shivaji wanted to come back and wanted to establish his own kingdom. Okay, so you can see in 1606 Shivaji received a letter from Aurangzeb inviting him to come to royal court at Agra. Shivaji has a hunch that emperor's intention, but accepted the invitation, did not want to appear that he was afraid of the Aurangzeb. He also gave away. So how he basically, when the Aurangzeb was busy in doing something else, Shivaji held a ceremony honoring the Pandit Kavindra Parmanand, not important, and he dressed as a fakir and he went out in a box like that. He escaped from Agra. So very interestingly shown in some of the episodes of the Shivaji when that's being shown. So finally he made an escape from the Aurangzeb's Agra. When he escaped, let's first talk about his escape. When he escaped in 1764, he coronated himself as the Chhatrapati. And from where the whole Maratha Empire, the formal Maratha Empire started. In 1674 at Raigad in Maharashtra. That was his capital. And in 1680, he finally died. In between, he plundered Surat and a lot of places. But finally, he died in 1680. When a very important figure like this dies, there is a power vacuum. You know? His son Sambhaji came to power, but there was a big power vacuum. And Sambhaji also have to face a lot of challenges to his Chhatrapatiship. Chalo. Now, what about this movie? When this movie was shot? Now, Tanaji movie's context was set in the time period when the Shivaji has to give away 23 out of the 35 forts. Now, Shivaji came back and he wanted to regain this fort. You know, I want to regain all these forts. So first fort they regained, that was the Sinhagad fort, or that time it was known as the Kondhana fort. So your whole movie was based upon the battle of the Sinhagad. And in that battle, the battle was between the Tanaji Malusare and the Uday Khan, played by Saif Ali Khan. So that was the story at that particular battle that was shown. Ultimately, Tanaji Malusare died, but he was able to win the fort. So this is the story of this is the whole context of this whole movie. If you want, you can see this movie. अच्छा लगता है especially when you see the historical facts being done in this movie. Especially later on, I also recommend you to watch some Bhagat Singh movies. I don't know about the language may be an issue for a few of you, but apart from that, if these movies are available, do see that movies. For example, Ajay Devgan's movie Bhagat Singh is being made. See that movie. And there is a Gandhi movie 1982. Please see that movie. So whenever you find time to see the movie, historical movie gives a lot of context and basically they humanize the things. ये facts को human से relate करते हैं. It really helps you to remember the stories, and that really helps you in the final exam also. So those 3 hours or 2 hours are well spent actually. Now, what about Shivaji? Now, when the Shivaji came into power, there were a few favorable things. For example, the Mughals have started to focus on the Deccans, but they did not have a very strong hold over the Deccan. They started to give hold over Deccan. Then the geography was in his favor because of this rugged terrain, because of the mountainous regime, the forts that were located. So it was in his favor. He was also influenced by a lot of bhakti saints. For example, Tukaram. Now these bhakti saints gave a lot of Maratha pride. For example, they composed stories or composed poems or composed their work in the Marathi language. And with the language comes the Maratha pride, and from that comes the sense of autonomy and sense of independence. From identity to pride to independence. No, we want to establish our own independence. So that was the context being set up by a lot of bhakti saints. Okay. The question you can expect in your UPSC, in your GS1 art and culture is also the role of the bhakti saints. And they can ask you a bhakti saint is specific of a particular area. For example, once they have asked a question on the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they can ask you the role played by the bhakti saints from Maharashtra. You can expect one question from the bhakti saints of the Maharashtra. One of them is, for example, other are Sant Gyaneshwar and other people. One of them is Sant Tukaram. And Shivaji was highly influenced by his ideas. His ideas of, for example, equality, brotherhood, forgiveness, peace of mind, and all these things. He composed his songs in Marathi and all these things. Okay. So you can expect one question on the bhakti movement, and you can expect one question being on these lines. Now, if we talk about Shivaji's kingdom, let's talk about Shivaji's administration. Administration are more important than the political history. Let me tell you that. Administrations are more important than the political history. Now, Shivaji established the administration. These are called the Ashtapradhana. Ashtapradhan. Who established this Ashtadiggaja? Who established that? The 8 poets of the 8 Telugu poets by Krishna Deva Raya, and a Tuluva dynasty. So that is Ashtadiggaja. This is Ashtapradhana. This was set up by Shivaji. So these are the council of ministers, you can say. So the most important one is the Peshwa, who was the administration, prime minister also called, and the finance. Then you have the Sar Nawab, who was from military, Majumdar from the name itself, revenue and accounts, Vakya Navis, intelligence, Sachiv, who talked about correspondence, Dabir, who talked about ceremony and the foreign ministry, Nyadhish, justice, Pandit Rao, charity, and the religion. So these are the 8 people, and you need to know what the name and the function performed by them. So you can expect one question on these administration, especially in your test series. Specifically, you can expect one question on the Shivaji's administration. So Peshwa, Sare Naubat, Majumdar, Vakya Nave, Sachiv, Dabir, Nyadhish, and Pandit Rao. More importantly, Pandit Rao, you can remember. Let me just highlight a few. जिसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, न्यायाधीश में नो प्रॉब्लम. Where you will face problem, Peshwa में there is no problem. You will face problem in the remaining these. Let's say Sare Naubat भूल सकते हो, so this is important. Majumdar you can forget, Vakya Navis you can forget, Sachiv भी याद रख सकते हो, and then Dabir. So these are the 4 to 5 that you needed to remember. बाकी तो you can work on. Shivaji's revenue settlement was also unique. For example, Shivaji has made a lot of area with the raids. He conducted a lot of raids. And he has its own area, for example, his own core area that was known as the Swaraj or Mulk-e-Qadim. And the other area that he has raided. So this is his core area and the other area which he raided. Okay. So he raided from Surat to Madras, and he wanted revenue from these places as well. So he established the 2 systems, that is Chauth and Sardeshmukhi. Let us see these 2. So yeah, Shivaji demanded these taxes from the hostile Muslim rulers of Deccan for the first time in 1665 and 1667, and they all agreed to pay as well. Because they become weak, they thought that it's better to pay them the money than to fight them. Chauth was the 1/4 of the revenue assessment. Chauth, from the name itself, Chauth means 1/4. And that was the fee that I will not molest you, right? So you can say that hafta jaise hota hai, that we will not molest you, we will not put the raid, but you have to give us the 1/4 of your revenue assessment. That is called the Chauth. Second is Sardeshmukhi. That is additional 10% revenue you have to give, where the Shivaji claimed its own lordship, that these area belong to us. And if this area belongs to us, then you have to pay us even more money. Let's see what is an example, how it works out. Now let's say this is his core area, this is his Mulk Kadim. Now some of the area where he claims his ki bhai pehle we used to rule here. So at this place he has to pay 10% Sardesh Mukhi. And then the other area where you don't want to be raided, you have to pay us the chop. So like this you can remember. So 10% Sardesh Mukhi, Sardesh Mukh we were there. We claim to be Sardesh Mukh, so you have to pay us 10% extra. Chauth is the area if you don't want to be raided. So Chat and Sardesh Mukhi are important things that you need to remember. Okay? Right. So Chauth is 1/4 to be paid to avoid the raid, and Sardesh Mukhi extra 10% on which the hereditary claims were laid. These were the part of the different parts of the ministry. For example, these were the officials. Then these were the different part of your military. Food people, Kiledar, who will take care of the fort, for example. The Navy Maratha, or this Shivaji, also tried to build up a navy because he has seen the example of the Portuguese. He has seen the example of the Portuguese. In fact, he has taken a lot of arms from the Portuguese as well. So he has seen that how Portuguese came into realize as a big empire, or they have established their own space into India because of their mobile cavalry, mobile navy, mobile cannons on the navy ships. So the Shivaji thought that we need to have these navies. So Maratha, basically, he took some steps to establish his own navy. So this is one fact you need to remember. Now that's the end of the Shivaji. That's the end of the Shivaji phase. Now if we talk about post Shivaji, that obviously will be chaos because a big identity such as Shivaji, a big person such as Shivaji has collapsed. He is no more. So the son of the Sahuji and Jijabai Shivaji gone down in 1680, and then obviously there will be a war of succession. War of succession happened between the Sambhaji and the Rajaram. Sambhaji came into become the Chhatrapati, that is 1680, and he imprisoned the Rajaram, with which he was having the war of succession. He won finally. He supported the son of Aurangzeb in his quest, because after Aurangzeb was also facing the challenges from his son when he was alive. You know? That happens to everyone, isn't it? So he supported one of the sons, and Aurangzeb was very unhappy with what the Sambhaji has done. So he got executed. Sambhaji got executed. Aurangzeb was very furious and he got executed, and his son Shuja was captured by the Aurangzeb. We will see Shuja will return into the story again. So Shuja is the son of the Sambhaji. Now when the Sambhaji got executed and became Rajaram, became the Chhatrapati again, third Chhatrapati you can say. So 1689 to 1700 he became the Chhatrapati for 11 years. He came to power at Raigad. His wife was Tarabai. He was the queen of the Chhatrapati Rajaram Bhosle, daughter-in-law of the empire founder of the Shivaji. So Shivaji's son and daughter-in-law. Okay. He finally died at Satara, Rajaram. So when the Rajaram died, his small son, that is Shivaji, became an emperor. Shivaji was very small, Shivaji too. And hence the Tarabai was the regent, queen regent for the Shivaji too. Okay. Now, when the Shivaji too was there, you can see thus when this Shuja returned. He returned and he said that I am the true heir. I am the son of the Sambhaji. Though I was captured by the Aurangzeb, now because Sambhaji was the Maratha king or Maratha Chhatrapati, now I should be the Maratha Chhatrapati. This Raja Ram and Shivaji and Tarabai, this is not happening. I will reclaim my inheritance. Right? And then he said that I am the true heir, and the rise of the Peshwaship started. Because as you can see, when the Chhatrapatis start fighting among themselves, when the king starts C1 versus C2 starts happening, your Peshwas, who is watching everything from here, he says, Acha, theek hai, these people are worthless. These people are not like Shivaji. We have to claim power. And from that period, you can say rise of the Peshwa. Peshwa started becoming the kingmaker. So whosoever the Peshwa will favor, that Chhatrapati will win, and then the Peshwa will be the real call maker. He will take the real calls. So the civil war between the Marathas, between Shahuji and Tarabai happened. Tarabai, we have discussed, the wife of the Rajaram, the mother of the Shivaji too. So in the Battle of Khed, the thing happened and Shahuji emerged as victorious. He occupied the Satara and he imprisoned Tarabai. Now that it was the time of the Shahuji to become the Chhatrapati. So he became the fifth Chhatrapati of the Maratha Empire. So these are the five Chhatrapatis that we know. First is the Shivaji from 1630. His reign obviously from coronation to their death. Then after Shivaji, you have the Chhatrapati Shambhaji. From after Shambhaji died, you have the Rajaram, right? After Rajaram, for a brief period, you have the Shivaji, who acted as a puppet ruler. His mother Tarabai was the regent, queen regent, like King Joffrey and the Cersei. Then you have the Chhatrapati Shahu, who reigned from 1708 to 1748. Now you can see Chhatrapati Shahu won with the help of a Peshwa. We'll see. And when the Peshwa became very important, Chhatrapati Shahuji's story ended. No more Chhatrapati Shahuji is not important. And from this period onward, we'll look at the story of the Peshwas. Why? Now the Chhatrapati significance. Chhatrapati significance has reduced, and now we'll look at the story of the Peshwas. Now it's time for the Peshwas to rise and establish their own kingdom, establish their own power. The first one is the Balaji Vishwanath. Now, Balaji Vishwanath in the Civil War, he favored whom? Shahuji, obviously. So he took Shahuji's side in the Maratha Civil War. He even helped the Shahuji from the release of the Mughals. When Aurangzeb died, he helped with the release of the Shahuji. So he was a Brahmin. He was a Konkastha Brahmin. He appointed as the Subedar of Pune, and finally he became a very important figure as a Peshwa. He died at 1720, and his son has now become the Peshwa. Now you can see Peshwaship has become hereditary, just like the monarchy or like monarchies. So a king dies, his son becomes. Now in the Peshwaship, you can see the Peshwa dies, his son becomes the Peshwa. So de facto ruler कौन हुए? ये हुए, the Balaji Vishwanath and his sons. ठीक है? So he died in 1720. Then came the Bajirao I, who was the real expander. Ranveer Kapoor played the role of the Bajirao Mastani movie, right? So his time period was 1720 to 1740. He was appointed at the very small age of 19 years of age. He is said to be the real founder because earlier were Marathas focused on more on the south. But he said, no, I will go towards the north. Okay? And he captured a lot of area on the north and all the other nearby areas. He won around 41 battles he fought. He won all the 41 battles. He was able to create a confederacy of Maratha. Now understand. Now Marathas were basically, now Peshwa has become the real center here. But Peshwa now, because earlier the king is obviously there. But if we want to become a king, then we have to create a confederacy. That means we need to bring other Maratha Sardars also into the picture. And we need to take them into the confidence. So confederacy का example क्या होता है? Canada is, for example, a confederacy. When you have a very loose states that are there. ठीक है? So you have, for example, the Bhosles will be given, or Bhosles will be given a place in the Nagpur, let's say, for example. But those Bhosles will be given a lot of autonomy, but you have to claim the sovereignty to the Peshwa, the Pune. या आप बस ये कह दो कि yes, you are my real founder, but I will give you a lot of autonomy. So Bajirao I was able to create the confederacy of the Marathas. We will look at it. And when this confederacy was created, it created a sense of a whole Maratha Empire. He also had a fight with the Nizam. For example, you remember 1724, Asaf Jah has established the kingdom in the Hyderabad. And obviously, when you have the kingdom that is very nearby to this particular place, the conflict is bound to come. This is Marathas and this is the Hyderabad. The conflict is bound to come. But Nizam was defeated, and the Treaty of Mungi Sivgan, they have established कि भाई, okay, I will give Marathas Chat and Sardeshmukhi. You don't need to remember the name of this treaty. ये important नहीं है. Okay? Then he had a campaign with Gujarat and Malwa. He fought a battle of Bhopal, and where he subdued the Mughal authorities as well. So these were the adventures of the Bajirao I. You can see Bajirao I, before Bajirao I, this was the Maratha Empire, and Bajirao I established till this place, particular place. And you can see the south, northward expansion of the empire. Okay? This was your Bajirao once, and you can see shrinking Mughal authority here. This was earlier the Mughal Empire, and the shrinking Mughal Empire that is there. Hello. So this is the confederacy that he has created, and later on this confederacy will turn on itself. This confederacy will become a big challenge for the Maratha kingdom itself, because as we have seen earlier, the Maratha Sardars were very in clash with each other. So it did not feel the bond of fraternity. For example, once you can have a good relation with Scindia, but then the Holkar will not be happy. You can have good relations with Gayakwad, then that person will not be happy. So in the times of the Bajirao I or Balaji Vishwanath, it was a fine thing. Okay, confederacy we have created, some sort of fraternity we have created. But when your Peshwa, again the same problem, your Peshwa is strong, Bajirao I is strong, then the other Maratha Sardars were down, right? But once your Peshwa becomes weak, the Maratha Sardars will start fighting again, and that will see the story in the Anglo-Maratha War. That thing will go into the Anglo-Maratha War. It will create that sort of things there. Now let us see, and this is important for your prelims. You need to know all the members of the confederacy. For example, Scindia from Gwalior. You can see the Gwalior, upper part of your MP. Then Indore mein Holkar hain, right? Then you Badodara, you Gayakwad. In Bhosle, Nagpur, you can see, and the Peshwas in the Pune. So these are the 5 people. One ek aur bhi hai, but that's not too much important. They can ask you to arrange these places north to south or east to west. So remember, be prepared with that. So when your Bajirao I has died, sudden death, his son again Balaji Bajirao became the Peshwa. He expanded the empire more. So he basically fulfilled his father's dream or his build upon the legacy of his father. So also known as the Nana Sahib Peshwa, he was the Maratha king. At that time, the Maratha king, the Sahu I, also died, and his adopted son was Rajaram. But finally, he became the real king. Here, main person. That is the Balaji Bajirao, and he became the real power with the Sangola Agreement or the Constitutional Revolution of 1750. What was this Constitutional Revolution? Let us see. So Sangola Agreement in 1750, the agreement said that the Maratha king will become a de facto ruler. इसका मतलब होता है कि nothing like king. So you can imagine like a queen of England. Only a titular post, nothing else, no power at all. The whole power will become in the hands of the Peshwa. So that's why it was known as the Sangola Agreement. You can expect one question on it because it lies at the bit periphery of your Maratha thing, but it can come. So Sangola Agreement was signed, and finally the Peshwas became the real power. When they become the real power, the Marathas became the zenith from Katak to Atak. Yeah, it's a good phrase being used by the historians to describe the extent of the empires from Katak to Atak. We'll see. And he has also signed a treaty with the Mughals. We'll see on that also. Pune, because now the real power resides with the Peshwa, now Pune became the cradle of the Maratha Empire. Okay. Now this is known as the Atak to Katak. Atak is a place in Pakistan, and Katak, you know, in Odisha. So you can see the Maratha Empire from this place to almost this place. And this is how they have described the extent of the Maratha Empire at its zenith. Now you see, when Maratha empires have expanded to this place, their original place is this. Now when they will expand to this place, the raids of the people coming from the northeast. For example, we have seen the raid of the Nadir Shah, remember? And the Nadir Shah's successor, that is Ahmad Shah Abdali. Ahmad Shah Abdali. He also decided, no, I will raid India. So he made a lot of raids in 1750s. Okay. Now, when the Marathas are expanding this place, now it is the Marathas who will fight the Abdali, isn't it? So they have signed one treaty with the Mughal ruler at the time, that was Ahmad Shah. They have signed the treaty that we will protect you from all the external and the internal threat. External threat, that is Ahmad Shah Abdali, or internal threat coming from any of the regional kingdoms, will help you. And Marathas will be given the money in the, obviously some money will be given to the Marathas. So in that way, Maratha came in an indirect conflict with the Afghans, that is the Ahmad Shah Abdali. And that happened with your third battle of Panipat. Third battle of Panipat, for example of this. Okay? Because now you see Marathas who were focused on the Maratha, their base is there in Maratha, but they're fighting a war which is too far away from them. Too far away from them. Maratha used to fight in this territory, and how they used to fight? With guerrilla warfare. Shivaji was famous for guerrilla warfare. इसका मतलब क्या होता था? For example, they used to, if you have seen the Tanaji movie or any Shivaji, or you have, so these are the big mountains. So they used to sit here and they used to throw a lot of stones, or they used to do a lot of different adventures. So only one person can impact a lot of people who is crossing this particular area. Let's say this is a road. And this is how the Maratha established their kingdom, with guerrilla warfare. And now you can see where I'm going with this, where I'm going with the third battle of Panipat that is happening with the Ahmad Shah Abdali. Let us see this first. So Ahmad Shah was the Mughal king emperor after your weaker later Mughal emperor 1748 to 54. So Treaty of Maratha to be protected. Then you have the Alamgir II, where the third battle of Panipat and the battle of Palasi being fought. Shah Alam II, where the battle of Buxar being fought. They can ask you the Mughal emperor, उस समय Mughal emperor कौन था? Who was the Mughal emperor at that point of time? So भाई battle of Maratha हुआ, battle of Panipat, attacked on the Delhi by Ahmad Shah Abdali. So the sons of the Balaji Vishwanath, of at that time your Peshwa was Balaji Bajira, not Vishwanath. So Balaji Bajira has sent his two sons, कि भाई go out there and fight. And his two sons went to this particular place. That is the movie plot of the movie, that is Panipat. है ना, अभी movie आई थी, Arjun Kapoor's movie, and that is the plot of that movie. So he has sent his two sons to fight against the Ahmad Shah Abdali, and both the sons got killed in the battlefield. Marathas lost heavily, and the Nana Sahab, hearing the news of the son, passed away. And that led to the weakening of the Peshwaship as well. And who was watching from one place? That was the EIC, because at that point, what is happening to them? On that same front, what is happening? EIC is has won the Palasi, has won the Wandi Wash. So they can see only one big challenge to them was Maratha. They were sitting in Bengal, right? Now they see in the north, one power is there. Now Mughals are weak, Marathas are strong, and Maratha also lost. And they know that Afghan will go. Afghan will not capture and will not become enthroned into India. They will eventually go out. So EIC was very happy. Okay, now our time has come. Apna time aa gaya. Right? They are happy. Right? Now, if we talk about the cause of the defeat, why Maratha lost to Abdali? It was because, first of all, the Abdali has a huge army advantage, a weapon advantage, the artillery advantage. Marathas have to establish their supply chain from their base to this particular where the fight will be going on in Panipat. And in between, Abdali cut all the supply chains in between. When the supply chains are cut, they lost the logistical supports, which is very, very much required in a battle: food, help, any kind of this. Then the treatment that Marathas used to cater to these North Indian kingdoms, for example, the Jats, the Rajputs. So Marathas were not very friendly with them. Marathas had a very rough way of dealing with them. So they did not came to help them. For example, they did not receive any help from Rajput and Marathas. And a lot of Muslim powers gave support to Abdali in the North India. Hence, Abdali's power expanded and the Marathan power got less. Maratha themselves were having the problem with the jealousy among the Maratha Sardars. One more problem was there. That is, they were not skilled in the open battles. They were skilled in the open battles, but not to that extent as they were skilled in this guerrilla warfare, where they have captured their own kingdom in Maratha and the areas around it. But now in the Panipat, they are fighting a very one-to-one battle with the Ahmad Shah Abdali, who himself is war rugged, very experienced, and then he killed these two sons. As these are your Peshwas, there are a few more facts that you need to remember. First, such as Balaji Vishwanath, 1713 to 1720. You can see at that period what is happening. Farooq Siyar is there, right? Farooq Siyar Farman 1717 and the death of the Farooq Siyar in 1719. तो the Sayyid brothers को help किसने किया? इन्होंने, बालाजी विश्वनाथ ने. Then Bajirao won. He established the Hindu Padshahi, that is the Hindu Empire. They can ask you these key terms and they can ask you to identify which is the Peshwa we are talking about. So they can give you few things. Then Balaji Bajirao, that is, he provided, for example, he captured Attock on the banks of the Indus River and Peshwa in the Battle of Attock. Then he built the water reservoir to the city Pune, which is still working. So these two becomes very, very critical. In per question, you can expect one question, directly or indirectly. So be prepared with respect to that. Let's talk about post Peshwaship. Now Balaji Vishwanath 1720, Balaji Bajirao 1740, Balaji Bajirao Nana Sahib 1761, right? Now again there is a battle of war of succession is going on. What to do? Now there was a Raghunath Rao, the brother of the Balaji Bajirao. He said he was very ambitious. He said, I want to become the Peshwa. But he was not given the Peshwaship because the son of the Balaji Bajirao has to get the Peshwaship. Now Vishwas Rao died at Panipat. Madhav Rao, hence the next son, becomes the Peshwa, fourth Peshwa after the Nana Sahib. He got killed in 1772. He was killed also and he died also. It's not very clear. For example, somewhere it's mentioned he was killed by Raghunath Rao. Somewhere it is mentioned that he died from TB, tuberculosis. Okay. Then who became the Peshwa, the fifth Peshwa, that is the Narayan Rao. And he was killed by the Raghunath Rao. Now you can see within the Peshwas, now fight is going on. And remember what is happening at the other side of the place. What is happening? That is the Britishers. Now the Britishers have seen from the experience of their Carnatic that what happens whenever two people are fighting within a kingdom, war of succession, it gives a very good opportunity to the people, outsiders, to play a very big role. That happened here. We'll see. So Raghunath Rao, he said that I want to become, and he killed him also. Then Narayan Rao's son became the Peshwa, that is Madhav Rao too. And he was held by the other people around him, that is Nana Fadnavis, mainly Nana Fadnavis, one more character entering into the picture. So you can see one lineage is going on. By inko maar diya, someone killed by him, then okay, next, killed, then next. But parallel challenge is going on by the Raghunath Rao. He was not given the Peshwaship that he wanted. And hence he went to the Britishers that please help us, help me, help me, help me, help me, right? Now the British, the Bombay government of the British, that we will see again when we'll talk about the British administration and the Regulating Act. The British have the places, that is the Bombay, given to them by Portuguese, the Calcutta and the Madras. The Bombay side of the government of the British has given an assurance to the Raghunath Rao with the Treaty of Surat. Okay, we will help you. So this was the commitment given by the Bombay. But Calcutta people did not like it. Calcutta said, "Kya kar diya tumne? What you have done? This should not have been done by you." Okay, so they signed the Treaty of Surat. They signed the Treaty of Surat with Raghunath Rao. British will help the Raghunath Rao to become the Peshwa. British means the Bombay wala. And in return, British will get a lot of territory. And yes, the commitment that Maratha will not raid any of the areas such as Carnatic and the Bengal. On the other hand, you have the Madhav Narayan Rao, who is held by the Nana Fadnavis. Now, in Nana Fadnavis, no, for example, this one, the British Calcutta Council, on the other side, condemned this treaty, Treaty of Surat. He was led by Warren Hastings. Warren Hastings. And he sent the colonel up to Pune to annul it and make a new treaty that is known as the Treaty of Purandar with the regency renouncing the Raghunath and promising him a pension. Ye bhai, Raghunath Rao, you will be given a pension. Now you don't do anything with respect to this Peshwaship. This was said by the Calcutta side of the East India Company. We'll look at there is a conflict, a small conflict brewing up between the Bengal, Bombay, and the Calcutta side of the EIC. Okay, that will be more cleared up when we'll look at the regulating act as well. Now, Warren Hastings has sent Lieutenant Upton कि भाई Treaty of Purandar sign करो, right? And Treaty of Purandar will give and that treaty will be signed with a Nana Fadnavis. That is, you can say the real Peshwa power, not Raghunath Rao. Raghunath Rao के साथ किसने treaty sign की थी? By the Bombay side of things. So you can make a map also, small सा. कि भाई पहले, this is the map. Firstly, the treaty was signed at the Surat with Raghunath Rao and the Bombay government at the Surat. And later on, the treaty was signed by the Calcutta government with Nana Fadnavis, okay, at the Purandar. So this treaty was signed. Kya trying हुई कि British will recognize the Madhav Rao as the Peshwa and the Maratha won't recognize the French. So commitment has been given to each other. Okay. So Nana Fadnavis has violated the treaty. Nana Fadnavis ने यहाँ तो commit कर दिया, but he violated the treaty. And he granted French one port. And the British were very furious कि भाई क्या कर दिया तुमने, what you have done, right? Hence, your English army retaliated. So the British surrendered by mid. Now Marathas have captured them, and the British have surrendered by mid 1779, and they have signed the Treaty of Vadgaon, forcing the Bombay government to relinquish all the territories acquired by the French English since 1775. Now Warren Hastings says, no, I will not approve this treaty as well. Treaty of Vadgaon, this is humiliating for me and I will retaliate. So he sent his more generals, for example, he sent more armies, more generals. You don't have to remember a lot. Just remember that more generals and more armies were sent to recapture the Ahmedabad, Bassein and all these things. And finally, the treaty was brokered. Final treaty which was brokered was the Treaty of Salbai. Okay. The Treaty of Salbai was brokered in 1782 after the British have made some gains. I know that's a very tricky story as compared to the Mysore story. Maratha story is a bit tricky as compared to the Mysore story, right? But thoda to padna padega, and you have to revise it a bit more. And that's why I said that theme 1 is a tricky theme. You have to trying to summarize from the period 1764 to 1818 in 1 hour class. So it becomes difficult, isn't it? So the Scindia has proposed a new treaty between the Peshwa and the English. कि भाई ठीक है, don't fight a lot, let's call it a truce and let's sign a treaty. And for the 20 years that treaty survived. It was a period of peace between the Marathas and the Britishers for the period of 20 years. Treaty of Salbai. It was accepted. So EIC again accepted Madhav Rao as the Peshwa, allowed to keep the Bassein, Sylhet and the Elephanta. Peshwa should not support any other European power, and the Marathas will help against the Mysore if any war goes out. This was the commitment given by the Maratha, and Raghunath Rao was given the pension. कि भाई ठीक है, तुम pension लो और अपना काम से काम रखो. Just do your own work and don't bother us a lot. Again, so that was Treaty of Salbai. Now you remember that was the Second Anglo-Mysore War we read. That is happening parallelly. And in which earlier the Hyder Ali has made an alliance with the Maratha and the Nizam. Now the alliance has broken because of that particular treaty. Okay. Treaty of Salbai. Now Marathas have to help the Britishers, otherwise they will face the challenge of the Britishers, you know. And after that, the treaty with Mysore also, the British, it went on, it became a draw, but Tipu Sultan did not win because he did not get the help of the Marathas. Now you have this scenario. Nana Fadnavis has become very strong because he has signed the treaty. He now controlled the Peshwa, that is Madhav Narayan Rao, who has been recognized by the EIC with the Treaty of Salbai. But he committed a suicide in 1775, and the last Peshwa comes into being, that is the Baji Rao II. And he was a very weak, incompetent ruler who wanted to do a lot of war. That's the big problem. Now, Nana Fadnavis thought that he will create a Maratha Empire again, but he died in 1800. The death of a statesman, that is the Nana Fadnavis, he died in 1800. He was the finance minister of the Maratha Empire, passed away in 1800. Okay? For 20 years, from 1782 to 1800, from after the Treaty of Salbai, he managed the affairs of the empire. His diplomatic and administrative financial skill brought prosperity to the Maratha Empire. Okay? He's not escaped from Third Battle of Panipat, rising high, directing the affairs of the Maratha. His skilled warfare helped in against the Nizam of Hyderabad, Hyder Ali, and Tipu Sultan, and all these things. So Nana Fadnavis mar gaya. Now you Baji Rao too is having the power. Now Baji Rao said that I am the last Peshwa and I want to regain my power. Okay? And he wanted to first of all subdue the remaining Sardars, Maratha Sardar. Remember the Confederacy? And the Confederacy becomes weak and the autonomy of the individual Sardars becomes high when your Peshwa is weak. So Peshwa along with the Sindhya have attacked the Holkar. He killed the Holkar brother. Now Holkar brother attacked Pune and captured it. So Peshwa was okay, now I want help. So Baji Rao too went to the Baseen and he seek the help of the EIC. Ki bhai, please help me, and now I need your help. And he signed the subsidiary alliance with the Britishers. What is subsidiary alliance? We'll look at it later. But he signed the subsidiary alliance with the Britishers. Ki bhai, we have to now sign this subsidiary alliance. The British said that if you want our help, sign this subsidiary alliance by the Lord Wellesley, Richard Wellesley. And the Treaty of Baseen was signed in 1800. Remember, this is not the second Anglo-Maratha war. Till this time, there is no second Anglo-Maratha war. So Treaty of Baseen was signed before second Anglo-Maratha war. Remember that. Obviously, the Peshwa has to give a lot of things to the Britishers. So it's before the war, right? Territory more than 26 lakhs, no foreigner except the English you will acquit. And if you want to settle any disputes with the Indian authority, you have to take the mediation of the EIC. So Peshwa has to de facto depend upon the EIC for each and everything, so as to say. Now Peshwa ne keh to diya ki these are the things I'll give to the EIC. What about the other Maratha Sardars? For example, the Holkar, the Sindhya also was not happy. They say, no, it's humiliating and we will not accept it. So let's go for the war. We will go for the war. So Maratha chiefs have said it's humiliating. So Bhosle have gone. So different battles happen with EIC, and EIC has taken everyone up. Bhosle, Sindhya, Holkar, sabko they defeated. And the series of treaties have been signed. This is in 1806, final one, Rajpurgarh, that is with Holkar. And this is essentially your second Anglo-Maratha war. So in your second Anglo-Maratha war, what is more significant? The pre-war phase is more significant. So remember, in the second Maratha war, the pre-war phase is more significant as compared to post-war phase. Let's talk about the significance of the Treaty of Baseen. So admittedly, treaty was signed by the Peshwa, who lacked the political authority to sign that particular treaty. Hai na? Because Peshwa was defeated by the Holkar, he lacked the political authority. But the gains made by the English were immense. He got a lot of treaty, a lot of money. Now the company can also put their army in, because of subsidiary alliance, they can put their army in there. They already captured this Mysore because it's 1802. They captured the Bengal, Bihar, Odisha. You can see this expanding empire of the British. Now this is the major power that is also being done. Some people also say that gave British the key to the India. It expanded the area of influence. This was the Treaty of Bassein before Second World War, Second Anglo-Maratha War. Now again, after Treaty of Bassein, after nothing happened, significant happened, you have the lot of Governor General came in. So Lord Wellesley, for example, subsidiary alliance, first alliance with the Nizam of Hyderabad, fourth Mysore War, this we have done, second Anglo-Maratha War we have done, administration of Tanjore, Surat, Carnatic, Treaty of Bassein. ये सब बचे हुए points, we will read it again. And this is how you need to remember what has happened into the particular Governor General. For example, George Borlow, Vellore Mutiny, Lord Minto, Treaty of Amritsar with the Ranjit Singh, that we'll look at in the 7th session. Charter Act we'll look at in the theme 2. And the Lord Hastings, finally, 1813 to 1823. So in between, these are the Governor Generals which have come. Now, Lord Hastings. Now remember, he is not Warren Hastings. Warren Hastings was from 1773 to 1785. He was the Warren Hastings. Now he is the Lord Hastings. Name is Francis Robert Hastings. In his period also, what happened? Third Anglo-Maratha War. We will look at it. And the dissolution of the Maratha Confederacy and the creation of the Bombay Presidency. In the next one, we'll look at this Anglo-Nepal War, the Nepal Treaty and the Treaty of Sagauli, which is being signed. So Lord Hastings, basically, he wanted the annexation of the Indian territories for the market and the raw material. Remember, at that time, what is happening? The Industrial Revolution in England is अपने peak पर पहुंच रही है. It's happening at its peak. So he wanted more territories, more raw materials, more market, because now Industrial Revolution is picking up pace in the England. Wanted to end the Maratha power, and he pressured them to sign the subsidiary alliance. Again, subsidiary alliance and get us more territory, get us more. We want more, basically. बिल्कुल subdue हो जाओ. In between, the Bajirao too was humiliated with the last treaty. Remember the last Peshwa, Bajirao too. And he said that I am humiliated, and you have put one resident and the troops. You have put residents and the troops in my area, in Maratha area, and I don't like it. This says the Bajirao too. And the Bajirao too said कि एक बार और let's try one more, है ना? आज कुछ तूफानी करते हैं. So let's try once more. Versus the Anglo, that is the British. The tight control and the interference of the British in the matter of the Peshwa was unhappy. The English charged Marathas with the giving shelters to Pindaris. Pindari ko we will see later on. Pindaris are basically the stranglers, or the basically you can say the Marathas, a lot of freelancing soldiers that are there. And they were too much, Britishers were too much unhappy with them. So the Pindaris were a big problem. And the suppression of Pindari happened later on. We'll look at it. I think William Bentinck when we'll read, William Bentinck put an end to the Pindaris. So English charged Maratha with the giving shelter to Pindaris. War happened. He was looking for an opportunity. Lord Hastings was looking for an opportunity to declare a war. So Peshwa declared the war, and the Warren Hastings were looking for an opportunity to subdue the Maratha forever. And this war later on, Bhosle and Holkar joined, but Peshwa was defeated and everything was annexed. So Maratha Confederacy was dissolved. Nothing too much in detail. You don't require a lot of detail. You need to know the context in which is happening, the story which is happening, and ultimately the British defeated the Maratha Confederacy, and the Maratha Confederacy come to an end in 1818. Finally, with the end of your third Anglo-Maratha War. So against the Peshwa, they defeated the Peshwa at the Bhima Koregaon. Very famous Battle of Bhima Koregaon, and the Holkar was the last to surrender, and he signed the Treaty of Mysore. East India Company appointed a Pratap Singh at the small kingdom of Satara, or Satara ko bhi they have taken later on in 1848. Dalhousie ne annex kar liya under the Treaty Doctrine of Lapse. We'll look at it again. In 1818, except Punjab and the Sindh, all were the area of the British Empire. So you can see the British Empire has become East India Company has become the British Empire in India. And that with Third Anglo-Maratha War. एक बार स्टोरी देख लेते हैं भीमा कोरेगांव की. इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज इट रिमेन्स इन करंट अफेयर. So in 1818, in the Third Anglo-Maratha War, this battle happened. It's a district in the Pune. So in which the Peshwas, who were the Brahmins, were fighting against the EIC, and EIC were helped by the Mahars, who were the Dalits. Now the Mahars were not happy with the way the Peshwa treated these people. Peshwa treated the Mahars because of the untouchable community, because they were the Brahmins. These were the untouchable, so-called untouchable. And when the British Peshwa lost in the Bhima Koregaon, that was a matter of pride for the Mahars, and hence they erected this particular, they coronated. They revere this pillar that they have made. Okay? So the small force of 500 Mahar soldiers, defeated defeated around a big force of the Peshwa Bajirao. So it was a symbol of the Dalit pride that we have defeated the Peshwas who were the more, you see, देखो तुम्हारे ऊपर, for example, if you are being suppressed by a power which is near you, let's say hypothetically your parents or your relative, and there is a foreigner who gives a lot of love or gives you a place in your army, who will you be more loyal to? The foreigner, obviously. It's very difficult for them to remain loyal to the people who have humiliated them. This is according to them. So Bhima Koregaon pillar is a living proof of the superior Dalit past, symbol of dignity and valor of the glorious Dalit history. Now the story of this, the revival of this, वहां पे तो 1818 में हो गया. The revival was done in 1927 when the Bhimrao Ambedkar visited the Bhima Koregaon village. In 1820, यहाँ से यहाँ देखो, 1927 Ambedkar visited the tribe along with the Mahar soldiers, and it was an example of the Dalit assertion, right? And in 1818 to 28, after 200 years have done, that's where you have witnessed the violence at the Bhima Koregaon. Why witness the violence? Because a higher caste did not like this. They take it as an insult, because the Peshwa's loss, the loss of the Marathas, was a big insult or a big humiliating defeat for the upper caste or the whole Maratha community. While it was a moment of to rejoice for the, let's say, Mahar community who have won this battle, and that's why the conflict is bound to come, है ना? एक बार और देख लो. So Mahar were considered the untouchable. The Peshwas were so-called high caste Brahmin, were notorious for their mistreatment and the persecution of untouchable. Because of this, the Dalit after independence saw Koregaon obelisk, that is the pillar, as a symbol of their victory over the high cost oppression. The Dalit leader B.R. Ambedkar visited the site in 1927 to commemorate the visit to the new site. And from that period, currently, especially after 2014, we have witnessed a lot of mob lynchings and the attacks on the Dalit, let's say, all these things. Hence 2018 became a moment to assert their Dalit identity again. And that is why you have witnessed a lot of violence on the 2018. And every year on this particular date, some sort of tension is there. So that's the end of the session, everyone. चलो question कर लेते हैं. Question कर लो आप mains के लिए. This is your 4th question for practice for mains. The Marathas had a potential to develop into a new pan-India empire replacing the Mughals, but the potential was never fully realized because of the nature of the Maratha polity itself discussed. So Maratha के अंदर potential था develop करने का, but they did not develop. उसके पीछे के क्या कारण है? What are the problems? Because the Maratha polity itself. मैं ये discuss करूंगा बाद में, maybe next session or maybe in the discussion session. But you can try it out. What are the reasons? Some of the reasons that we have seen, the conflict between the Maratha Sardars, their inability to work together, the things, their inability to recognize the bigger threat, that is EIC, and the other problems that were there with the Marathas, we will look at. Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi, for example. Let us see a few questions. Consider the following statements. The third battle of Panipat, Ahmad Shah Abdali defeated the Ibrahim Lodi. Tipu Sultan was killed in the Third Anglo-Mysore War. Mir Jafar entered into conspiracy with the British for the defeat of the Nawab Sirajud-Dowla in the Battle of Palasi. Which of the following statements is correct? Tipu Sultan was killed. First statement, pause करिए और कोशिश कीजिए. that came in 2004. So Ahmad Shah Abdali defeated Ibrahim Lodi? No. Ahmad Shah defeated the Marathas. Ibrahim Lodi was defeated in the second battle of Panipat, when the Babar versus the Lodi was the battle. And Tipu Sultan was killed in the third Anglo-Mysore war? नहीं, ये भी गलत है. Mir Jafar entered into a conspiracy with the British defeat? Yes. So answer क्या हो जाएगा आपका? Only third option is correct. Other two options are wrong. Then this question is fine, और आप इसको बिल्कुल pause करके कोशिश कीजिए without looking at the answer. Which of the following series of treaties arranged in the correct chronological order? Treaty of Allahabad, Seringhapatnam, and Treaty of Bassein. किसको correct order में arrange it? Right? Now you need to arrange. For example, Treaty of Allahabad was signed after the Battle of Buxar. Treaty of Seringhapatnam after your third Anglo-Mysore War, and Treaty of Bassein before your second Anglo-Maratha War. So it is 1765, 1792, and 1802. So this is, now you have to remember the treaties chronologically, and especially Mysore we have done, Bengal we have done, and Maratha we have done. And in the theme 7, we'll look at the more and more. So with this, we finish our session for today. It's a relatively long session. I think next session will be more long as well, because there we have to look at a lot of things. So with this, we'll finish the particular session for today. See you all again in the next session. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.